Looks like we're coming live here. I'm going to give it a couple moments. All right, discussing the first in a series of winter storms arriving across the eastern United States on Tuesday. This is February the 10th. Storm arriving on the 11th. Latest timing totals: lower Ohio River Valley, Appalachians, Mid-Atlantic going to be hit by this pretty hard. Many areas likely looking at, I think, a wet 6 inches of snow. It'll create a mess. All right, but this is not the only storm in town. Actually looking at a series of storms. Very, very active. Southwesterly flow aloft. Going to be impacting much of the eastern U.S. for at least a week, 2 weeks from now. Let me check that volume there. Sorry. So it's going to be a busy time of it over the next 1 to 2 weeks. But really focusing on Tuesday's storm first. There's another one coming in right behind it. You can see it on our map here for Wednesday night. That's going to be across the plains, the Midwest, and Great Lakes. So looking at that storm, there's a third one coming on Sunday, and it's going to impact much of the Midwest, Great Lakes, possible Northeast. A lot of question marks with that, but this pattern goes on. This video, my goal here is to focus on tomorrow, and I'll have my updated snowfall forecast for the lower Ohio River Valley, going over the model data, showing timing, totals, impacts, and then we'll take a look at, again, broader scale here, looking at what else is going on with those other storms looming later in the week. It has been a busy season. The winter of 24-25 is going to go down as one to remember, I think, for much of the eastern U.S. You think about that freak show of a snowstorm on the Gulf Coast last month, right? Where you had 10 inches of snow in the panhandle of Florida. Is unbelievable. You had the blizzard before that across portions of the Midwest, and the very hard winter storm, the Ohio River Valley, with lots of sleet, many areas up around 10, 12, 14 inches of snow. And here we go again. We had a chance to kind of melt a lot of that off here recently, but that's all about to change. All right, during this update, as mentioned, talking about those storm totals, timing, all that fun stuff. Let's get into it. Not going to be a real long update here. Probably try to keep this to around maybe 15 minutes or so. But with that being said, satellites showing that storm beginning to take shape across the central parts of the United States of America. Underneath those clouds, we do, in fact, have reflectivity. We've got returns, as we would say. Some light returns. This would be snow across portions of the Midwest right there, from Indianapolis to north of St. Louis. A lot of that, though, very light stuff. We're not even reaching the ground. The real storm, the first one, just now really beginning to generate heavier rains developing there. Eastern portions of Oklahoma, some rumbles of thunder as well, north of Little Rock, Arkansas. All that's going to expand to the east and north, and as it does, it's going to encounter some colder air, and then just like that, we'll have all the ingredients we think that we need for some significant winter weather. Here's kind of an overview. Storm 1 stretches from southern Missouri with winter weather advisories to winter storm warnings, lower Ohio River Valley, middle Appalachians, mid-Atlantic. Those are winter storm warnings. The purple there, those are winter weather advisories. Storm number 2, that's the one you see across the plains. Already winter storm warnings in effect for parts of Kansas and Missouri and far southeastern Nebraska. So it's a busy time of it. All right, let's get into why we are seeing so much storminess, obviously. The biggest culprit really is going to come back to what's happening at the jet stream level. So in the jet stream, winds, we've got this what we call active southwesterly flow, and this is where we're at now, with one major jet stream beginning to exit, but also on its heels we have a disturbance that's in the forest. There's a disturbance in the forest that's this weakness there, and that creates lift, low pressure, and that brings together opposite air masses, cold and dry air from the north, warm and relatively moist air coming in from the Gulf of Mexico, and the convergence of those creates lift, and hence we have storm number 1. Storm number 2 coming in behind it. That's what this guy is here, which is a very energetic upper level jet streak in that southwesterly flow. So what does that mean underneath? Well, let's get to the European forecast model. Kind of a broad overview here showing rain first to the south across the middle Mississippi River Valley, and then you can see that snow developing to the north into parts of the Ohio River Valley into your Tuesday before it moves on into the mid-Atlantic. Second storm coming in behind it, you can see very quickly as it goes from the plains into the Great Lakes. As mentioned, there's a third, and I'll show you in a moment. All right, closer up look at the European forecast model from earlier today. And I think this is probably pretty well reasonable expectation what it's showing here as far as the development of the snow during the overnight period tonight. This is around dawn tomorrow, 7 a.m. You can see that snow becoming fairly moderate right through here, moderate, and then it really picks up in intensity. And notice the west to east nature of the banding of this, and what that's going to do, it's going to allow that snow bands to really train over the same areas. So this is not a big winter storm. It's not taking up a ton of real estate, but again, you get that corridor, and if you're in that line of fire, you're going to end up with some pretty heavy snowfall. There's it picking up even further as we head on throughout the afternoon here tomorrow. I've got a Rick on here. Hey, glad I got to catch your video. Thanks, Rick. Probably don't do enough of these. Let me know what you think. Appreciate you being on. All right, that snow really cranking during the afternoon into the bluegrass region of Kentucky, into central, southern West Virginia, and then after that for Tuesday evening, Tuesday night, that heavy snowfall making its way into central northern Virginia. Richmond's going to get hit hard. Also into D.C. and Baltimore. Also getting hit hard ahead of that next storm, and there's the big whopper for the weekend, which we'll touch on a little bit more at the end of this video. Let's go back into the Ohio River Valley, and we'll take a close-up look at what that is showing us with the rain developing first here during the overnight. This is the high-res NAM. That's the North American model. It's on close range. This is one of our best tools that we have for storms less than 24 hours away. It does an excellent job. Generally. All right, so it shows the rain at first during the overnight period tonight, and we're going to stop it right here because at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, that rain begins to change over to snow on the northern edge. Notice it's just that northern edge because that's where it's encountering that colder air from the north, okay? So it's that it's warm, moist air that's overriding a cold dome at the surface, and then boom, boom, just like that. Heavy, wet snow everywhere. So you go from like no snow to heavy, wet flakes. It could happen real fast in the morning. In fact, by 7 a.m., heavy snow making its all the way up into the perhaps even metropolitan Louisville area. You got along the parkways, heavy snow developing. This is 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. It's going to develop fast and then sticks with us throughout the morning hours, moderate to heavy. And there is just simply not going to be a lot of freezing rain, by the way, which is very good news. Very narrow transition band. For just a few minutes, you could transition over to some sleet and a little bit of freezing rain mixing in, but with air temperature so marginal, it won't even matter. So that's not the threat. It's cold rain going really over to a heavy, wet snow. Pause this image here at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then that snow does continue. The heaviest of it begins to move to the east by late afternoon, to be followed by some lighter snows, but it really just shuts off during the evening. By around 7 or 8 o'clock, this thing will be done for the lower Ohio River Valley. All right. And then let's take a look at this into the mid-Atlantic now. And we'll go on over to Virginia. Oh, Virginia, where'd you go? Okay, Virginia is not going to happen. Let's go into the mid-Atlantic. Here we go. All right, this will work. All right, so there's the heavy snow into the mid-Atlantic. We'll back it up as it reaches, this is 7 o'clock in the morning. We're going to pause it right here. This is at noon. And then really during the afternoon, it just explodes across northern portions of Virginia, into Maryland, into Delaware and southern Jersey, and into far southeastern portions of Pennsylvania. This is tomorrow evening and even into New York City as we head on into Tuesday night. Pretty good snowstorm. How much are we talking about snowfall for the lower Ohio River Valley? The high-res NAM here showing you locally up to 6 inches of snow. I think this is actually pretty decent. Maybe a little heavy for the Louisville metropolitan area, but overall I think the idea is about right. Here's a look at my forecast map for that area. 3 to 6 inches for Lexington, Louisville. Lexington probably closer to 6 inches. Could be locally higher. Evansville probably closer to 3. So something like that. You have lesser totals north and south. As mentioned, a very narrow band, narrow west to east band with this particular system. So that's one feature that kind of interesting. It's going to be a little snow to the north, a little to the south, but right in the middle you have that sweet spot. All right, so once we go through this, so as mentioned, the second storm coming up over the course of the weekend. So storm number 1 tomorrow at the weekend, Wednesday night. It's one right after the other. So jet stream winds, let's go back to the second impulse making its way out of the Rockies as it kind of ejects out here. Wednesday, that's going to form a doozy at the surface as it rolls through the Great Lakes here Wednesday night. This is the way it looks here according to the European forecast model. Heavy snow to the tune of 6 to 12, locally 12 to 15 inches of snow from Kansas City to Chicago, and then up into central lower portion or lower peninsula of Michigan. Very impressive looking system. Snowfall totals with that one could be excessive. Let's take a look at the Ohio Valley totals here. We're going to go over to the European forecast model, and there's storm number 1 you can see to the south, and then storm number 2 comes in. Boom! Look at all of the purple there. That's 6+, and then a lot of areas in there registering around 9-10 inches of snow. No doubt some areas will be locally heavier than that, especially once you get up into Michigan, I think, where you're going to have the heaviest snow with that particular storm. All right, believe it or not, there's another one coming. They just keep on coming. All right, this is the last one we're going to cover during this update. Third storm, upper low pressure system diving across the diving across the west coast, I should say, here on Thursday. So we have one storm exiting Thursday across the Great Lakes. You have the second storm approaching across the west coast. Put that in motion here. That storm ejects out of the Rockies on Saturday, and there's another deep low pressure system underneath it. You will have another mess. So got a few days to dry out into the week, start of the weekend, and then boom, another mess in our hands. And yeah, it could be a real doozy. This one, this particular model, the latest run of the European forecast model brings that heavy snow all the way down to the lower Ohio River Valley as we head on into Saturday night. And then Sunday, all that focused energy from the Appalachians into the eastern Great Lakes. And that could be a lot of snow for places like Rochester, New York, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania. Could be heavy snowfall for Cleveland, Detroit. It could be another good one for Chicago as well. So a lot to watch. There's a closer up look at that last storm there. And that would bring a healthy dose of snow, no doubt about it. Let's take a look at those totals. Let's go to the Great Lakes here. And so that's storm 1, storm 2. So storm 1 totals, storm 2 totals, and then how about storm 3? Here it comes. Oh wait. That's only through 18Z. Let's go a little further. I mean, it's just going to be snowmageddon. There's snow everywhere. There's no one coming in after that. We can't get to it tonight. We just don't have enough time. It's crazy. It's a lot of action out there. Anyway, I hope you got something out of this video. As mentioned, it was going to be short and sweet. With that being said, thanks for being on. If you haven't already liked or shared the program here, we appreciate it. All right, with that being said, gonna let you go back to your regular programming, watch the situation. You guys stay warm, stay safe on those roads out there. It's gonna be a heavy wet snow on Tuesday for much of the lower Ohio River Valley. We'll talk to you guys again soon. Y'all have a great night, okay? Bye.